It was an exciting experience. It was a learning experience, and it's a night I'll never forget.
It was a lot of fun watching.
It was an exciting experience. It was a learning experience, and it's a night I'll never forget.
It was a lot of fun watching you. It really was. And seeing you get excited, that was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad you streamed it.
Yeah, and I want to keep doing that stuff. I mean, I want people to, see somebody chasing a dream, and then at the same time, feel like, they've got the opportunity to chase their own dreams, and to feel like they can be a part of it. I'm not some sicko poker player who, has been playing for 27 years, and I'm single and I have 100 hours to put into my game. I mean, I've got a wife. So, it was an exciting experience. It was a learning experience, and it's a night I'll never forget.
It was a lot of fun watching you. It really was. And seeing you get excited, that was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad you streamed it.
Yeah, and I want to keep doing that stuff. I mean, I want people to, see somebody chasing a dream, and then at the same time, feel like, they've got the opportunity to chase their own dreams, and to feel like they can be a part of it. I'm not some sicko poker player who, has been playing for 27 years, and I'm single and I have 100 hours to put into my game. I mean, I've got a wife, I've got 4 kids, I've got a normal life, and so. I think it's good to see that, like, you don't have to be, some internet sensation from Sweden in order to have a poker career.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, as soon as you were done playing, I was amped up. I just couldn't wait for my next poker session to just try to go deep and chase that dream. It definitely
nice.
Hop back on the table instantly. So that was definitely exciting.
And we have one dull geek just joined us in chat. I know that name.
All right.
And we got people on Facebook. Oh, you love broccoli, do you?
No, not even a little
bit. I know. I've heard.
No, it's funny because me and Geek, Geek streams too, and so every time he goes on his stream, I'm just razzing him nonstop, and I'm riling the crowd up, trying to get him to sing songs. I'm just, and then the flip side, when I stream him, he just gets it to me, and so that's always a nice little fun rivalry, I guess. But yeah, the support's amazing. The opportunity is amazing, and what a cool platform Twitch is. 7 years ago when Black Friday hit, nothing like this really existed, and now all of a sudden, you've got all these interactive poker communities you can be a part of. Everything's changing.
Yeah, there's definitely depth to the relationships that people are building online, and the interactive features really has entertainment value as well. So I have a question. Last night, obviously, you made a really sick bluff. It was the shot heard around the net. Now,
the controversial hand.
We were talking about it, and Lappy said he could have all these hands, and my theory was you fold that river, you're 45th out of 50, and your flame is kind of put out.
Right.
And if he had a 5 or 9, he was an aggressive player. Basically, probably shoves the turn having a pair and a draw, or 2 pair. He doesn't just get there on the river. He's going for it by the turn. What were your thoughts on that hand? Because everyone was just shocked by it. It made you $1,000 at least just on one move.
Yeah, so interesting spot, right? And there's a couple things that are going on here, so I'll walk you guys through it and then hear what you have to say about it. But I've actually been studying the Raise Your Edge videos, just the free ones on YouTube. I've had a plan of getting into that class for a while now, but had to raise the funds to do it. And in one of the videos I watched a week ago, he was talking about. It was actually almost an identical spot. It was 8-jack off. I think he was raising into the big blind from middle position. Flop came 7-4-6 or 7-4-5, and he was talking about how people hate c-betting there because the big blind's got a range advantage. But he brought up the fact that people that defend the big blind really wide are going to have a ton of Broadway cards. They're going to have a ton of random ace-x junk, and while that certainly does hit their range, it misses a bigger part of the range. And so, having position, his passion is 90% c-bet in position, 40% out. He's a huge advocate for c-betting in those spots. And so when the flop came, I was like, all right, I'm going to take a c-bet at this. I know I'm probably going to get floated, and I'm going to have to barrel in a fair amount of turns in order to take down the hand. So we come to the turn now, and the turn's a 10 of hearts, right? So it was 7-4-6 rainbow. The 10 of hearts put 2 hearts on the board. And now we're kind of in a little bit of a dicey situation. And unfortunately for me, I had shredded my time bank early in the tournament. I didn't realize that they didn't add to the time bank every 2 or 3 levels. So I'm not in a spot at this point where I can just take a minute and tank and really think through the hand. I'm in a little bit of a crunch. And I guess at this point, there's 2 things working me. First, I knew he was going to float me really, really wide there, right? So I have to be considering double barreling. I don't feel like the 10 is the worst card for us. Some of the loosest floats we're going to see are a lot of backdoor flush draw overs. Your queen jack suited, your jack 10 suited, your king queen suited, and we do block. We do block one jack 10 suited combination. We block one ace jack suited or ace 10 suited combination. I don't necessarily know. I guess he could be, if he's defending wide, he could defend with king 10. But as I looked at it, I just felt like that card was a little bit better for us than it was for him. We still have position. It's probably the weakest move of the three streets, right? I think the c-bet sound on the flop. I was fine with the river shove, but I think that's definitely a spot that was probably very, very dicey. Once he calls the turn, I agree. I think it's a no-brainer shove. And here's the thing: because I didn't sleep until 6 a.m. this morning. I just could not sleep. Right. So this is all I was thinking about last night. Lappy brought up, there's tons of 9s and 5s in his range, and it's well, sure, but if he's playing that wide, if we're saying he's got 9s and his 5s in his range outside of pocket 5s and pocket 9s, right, then everything's in his range. 6s, 7s, 8s. I mean, how many ace 4, ace 6, ace 7 type hands would float us on the flop and float us on the turn that we lose to? How many 8x combinations, right, would pick up the double gutty on the turn and then river second pair, right, and have us beat? I felt like there were a lot of combinations there that we still lose to, and we're jamming 340K into 640K, right? So it's not like we have to win that 2/3 of the time or anything. Basically, we've got to win that 36% of the time for that to be a profitable shove. So, and then the other thing, and I think you have to kind of take this tournament and you have to treat it like a different tournament than other tournaments because, first of all, you have all of these high-stakes sickos who I didn't have hardly any hands on because, they just don't play very many tournaments on ACR. They only play in the nosebleeds. But at the same time, they don't have a lot of tournaments on me, or hands on me. And so, I'm looking at my stats. I'm 16, 12, 7, right? Which is pretty tight for me compared to how I normally play. And then on top of that, I know if they go shark scope my ACR for 2017, I have an average buy-in of $11, and I'm a break-even player at best. So I don't feel like I'm fully convinced they're going to be looking at this stuff, right? So I don't feel like at that point he's looking at me and thinking this guy's capable of a triple barrel, right? I don't think that's in the resume for what they see when they look at my profile. So I feel like we've got a little bit stronger look to us in terms of our image than we would in a normal tournament or in a normal spot. And so I don't know, I guess all that put together, I felt like that was a good spot to go. I kind of knew when I bet the turn, the river bet sizing was perfect for a jam. I wasn't necessarily jamming all rivers, but the 8 put, two 4-card straights on the board. And I just felt like, he's going to have a 5 or a 9 less than 35% of the time. So I think it's a profitable shove.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think everyone was just shocked when they saw it. Not many people, just go for it. Triple barrel bluff is what you call it, or something that Drew taught you. So can you explain what is your relationship with Drew? Because he's someone that I used to talk to pre-Black Friday on Merge on AOL Instant Messenger. He's a really good friend of mine too. And how did his coaching change your game?
Yeah, so I actually met Drew through a guy on Twitter known as Your PokerPastor, PGT, who is a carbon crusher. Guy just destroys carbon on the reg. And he was the one that kind of referred me to Drew. And I've always been kind of big on coaching in general. Pre-Black Friday when I was playing full-time, I spent some time training under Mossified. I spent some time training under Ari Engel, Herschel W. Wow. Those of you guys that were around back then probably remember those names.
Bodog Ari was a legend, yeah.
Yeah. And it was good because I was a high-low pro, right? And back then you could make a living playing high-low pretty easily because there was just so much volume. But I saw the writing on the wall, was trying to get into no limit hold'em, and I was like in the process of making that transition when Black Friday came. So, fast forward here, like 7 years since Black Friday, I'm trying to start getting back into poker again. And your poker pastor had recommended Drew to me. And so, I just kind of reached out to him and said, hey, I'm looking to get back into the game. I'm very serious about, learning the game and really getting a sharp foundation for Texas Hold'em. And just kind of told him some of my goals for the next year. And, he just wrote back. And the first thing he said is, listening to your vision for what you want to accomplish and how hard you're working at it. He's like, I've got full confidence in you. We're going to see this happen. And it was kind of a little boost because, I mean, I was, at that point, not that I'm somebody now, but I'm a nobody, right? Like, nobody cares what you were doing 7 years ago in the poker world. Everything's changed and evolved. And so, like, it was a little boost of confidence. And so right from the first session I did with Drew, where he just went through the hand history, I mean, he really took the time to look through and find like 3 things that I could work on, he wasn't trying to get me to play his game. It wasn't like, well, here's how I play, you need to play like me. It was, let's take your game and the way you like to play and the way you're comfortable playing, and let's make a few adjustments that are going to be more profitable for you. And one of those was, in fact, my river bet percentage, because he looked at my stats and I had a river bet percentage of like, I don't know, 18%. And he was like, bro, you're only betting the river when you have a hand. And so he really pushed me to start, polarizing my range on the river, to start bet sizing larger on the river. And I mean, absolutely that played a part in the hand last night because, 3 months ago, I'm checking that river down every day and twice on Sundays. Like without hesitation, I just snap check and go, oh, this sucks. I double barreled and didn't get anywhere. I would never, ever, ever make that move. So, I mean, hands down, like, his coaching and what he applied absolutely, came to play and probably the most critical, hand of the tournament for me.
Awesome. So we got a question in the chat from Dulgreek. He wants to know what prompted you to start streaming on Twitch. And I guess another question I'd like to know is, how could someone like me get into streaming on Twitch?
I mean, at first I was anti-streaming on Twitch. Not anti for everybody, but anti for me. Because I saw these people that were streaming on Twitch that, a lot of them were doing it to make a living. So the idea of going in on streaming, like, well, that's going to cut into their viewers or it might cut into their revenue. And I'd rather just kind of support who is out there. But I had a conversation with Drew one time, and he was just telling me about how other people had an impact on his life and how much of an impact he's had the opportunity to have on people's lives. And, obviously, I've got the Poker Pastor name, right? And that name really came from right around Black Friday. There had been, a couple high-profile suicides in the poker world. And, I know from the area I live in where the churches are all conservative, like, you can't walk into a church and be like, I'm a professional poker player. They're going to throw you out the front door and toss some holy water at you, right? Like, it's just not it's not one of those things that has the positive stigmata, I guess, attached to it that it should, and especially with faith-based things. And so I really had a desire to be a resource and just not to, like, throw faith down people's throats or to, like, hammer them with a whole bunch of stuff, but just, like, if people need a place to talk, they need a place to turn, like, they know they can go somewhere and not be judged. And so that kind of just inspired me to try the Twitch thing out, just to kind of get out there and connect with people. I had no idea how quickly or how crazily things would happen. I mean, getting with Stormers obviously helped in that regard, and they did a lot of promo stuff, but yeah, it just kind of took off, and it's been so much fun because I'm meeting so many wonderful and amazing people that I never ever would have met had I not do it. So as far as, like, how people get into it, actually Drew's got a really nice introductory video on his YouTube that kind of talks about the basics of how the OBS Studio works. And honestly, like, getting a simple layout and getting it there is really not that hard to do. I think where a lot of people struggle with the streaming thing is on the networking side. Like, I think people just put a stream up and they think because they've got a stream that they're going to have, 50 viewers. And it doesn't work that way. You got to go out and meet people and connect with people and support other people. And then, that support comes back to you. And you start to kind of build your own little community that way.
Cool. Yeah, I saw. Are you familiar with Tonka? Do you watch his stream? I saw he had 2,000 streamers last time I was watching. I couldn't believe it. Like, how does someone get so popular? Is it just the networking and?
Yeah, well, I mean, it helps to be on the PokerStars like side of things, streaming wise. The Euro market for Twitch is really huge. I mean, Lex Veldhuis has been up in the 5-6K market times, and I think he even hit 10K viewers once when he was in the 10K high roller final table. I think it was back in the W Coop. So those guys are well connected. Stars helps promote them. Stars has got their own Twitch channel where they'll do hosts and stuff. So they've got a lot of backing that helps with that, and that's where I think ACR Stormers is moving in that direction and continuing to grow that. But I mean, just hanging out in somebody's stream, gifting somebody a sub, throwing some biddies in there, and just supporting them when they're on their runs goes a long ways. I mean, people. There's a unique energy that comes from streaming and playing poker at the same time. It's a little bit hard to explain, but like it kind of helps with the bad beats. It kind of helps with the big victories. Like you just kind of feel the energy. And even though you are definitely losing some focus and you are definitely losing some attention, as you guys were noting before I popped on, like I wasn't paying attention as close as I could have because my thoughts were distracted. On the flip side, you do get that energy, you do get that vibe, you do get that encouragement that kind of keeps you in the right mindset moving forward.
Gotcha. So I noticed in chat, someone wants to know, have you set goals for 2018? And you mentioned last night that was your biggest poker accomplishment. Now, what's the next step for you?
So my big goals for 2018, like my ultimate goal is to get half online, half live. Like I would like to travel, 20 weeks out of the year and play live events and then spend the other, 32 weeks out of the year-ish playing online, or maybe 20 and 20 with, some time off or whatever. To do that, I've got to get a bankroll up in the, even conservatively to do that, I probably got to get a bankroll up in the, 15 to 20K range. So I've got a lot of work to do on that. But the big step for me, I guess, heading into 2018 is getting into this Raise Your Edge program and really just, committing myself to that. Raise Your Edge is a very, very intensive program, but it's also a program that you get out of it what you put into it. And so like, if you treat it like just a video instructional site where you go and you watch a couple videos and then you think you're going to be a sicko, like it's not going to do anything for you. You're going to put a bunch of money into the program and get nothing out of it. But if you really put your time into the homework assignments and the studying and memorizing the ranges and then knowing how to adjust, like the results are there. You can see people that have gone through it and just the incredible runs they've went on. And there's a lot of elite pros going through it. So I really want to commit some time to that. I've always been guilty of being good, and so not applying myself. Like, hey, I'm making some money at poker, so that's good enough. But the problem is the game's always evolving. So as soon as you get complacent and just stop pushing and studying your game, you're done. It's only a matter of time before the train catches up with you. So, I really want to spend the next 6 months, getting into that. And I think that's going to spearhead the opportunity to move into maybe some more mid stakes, to improve my game and also, get my ROI up to the point where, I'll have more liquidity to go into some live events and play some bigger stuff.
Cool. So do you ever play cash games or mostly tournaments?
I am horrible at cash games. I think it's a mental block for me, right? Like I was talking to some guys on the stream about this the other day. It's like if I go into a tournament and I go on a 20 buy-in, 30 buy-in downswing, which is perfectly normal. I'm one bink away from getting it all back and then some, right? So like I'm always entering a tournament feeling like I've got the opportunity to get right back where I am. You go to a cash game and you blow like 4 or 5 buy-ins. I feel like I'm like so screwed. Like, now I've got to win 5 all-ins to get my money back, and it's going to take forever. And I've never been able to get over that mental hurdle. It just hasn't worked for me.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. Once you're in the hole, it's just demoralizing in cash games. But so I have a question. You mentioned last night that I think you had a 5-digit live score in a tournament. Do you play circuit events? Have you ever been to the World Series of Poker? Like, what was that tournament that you won in?
Yeah, so right around the time of Black Friday was when I was like transitioning more into live. I I had gotten some backing. I was starting to travel the circuit. And my big score came in a stimulus event up in Hammond. It's kind of a funny story. I was just in an awful downswing live, which granted, a live downswing compared to an online downswing, like a live downswing is like one day in online, right? Like you go like 2 weeks, you just bust tournament after tournament. You just feel like you're in the worst run of your life, but it's like 14 tournaments. So I was in a bad mood. I woke up that morning. I had driven back from Chicago. I live about 3.5 hours from Hammond. And I decided I wasn't going. I was like, I'm just going to call my backers. I'm going to tell them I'm sick. I'm not going to this tournament. And my wife drugged me out of bed and said, "You're going to this tournament." I'm like, "I'm not going to this tournament. It's a turbo structure. It sucks. Like I'm not playing it." And she's like, "I'm driving you. You're going." And she grabbed me clothes. She packed the car. She took me. We drive to the tournament. I'm grumbling the whole way there. We get there, and the very first hand of the tournament, I have pocket sixes. And the flop comes like 8-6 deuce. And this guy leads pot into me. And I call. The turn is a 5. And he bets. And I call. And the river's a 7. So it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 deuce board. And the guy snap shoves. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like, literally, I just drove 3 hours this tournament. I didn't want to play in. I've got a set. There's a 4-card straight on the board. Half my stack is in the pot, and this guy's all in on the very first hand. And I remembered I folded. I looked up into the stands where my wife was studying, and I just gave her the biggest glare on the planet. I sent her a text. I'm like, "This is the worst idea ever. I am never doing this again." But about 6 hands later, I found a double up, and then I doubled another. I don't know, like 2 levels later, and 14 hours later, chopped it for like 15.8, 16.2K. I don't remember exactly what the chop came to. We chopped it like 5 ways. And she's never let me forget it.
Yeah, women know best.
They do, they can definitely be plus EV if you choose wisely.
Does she play poker?
So she does a little bit. Yeah, she's learned the game. I mean, obviously, like, she's had to cover for me various times, right? Over the last several years, there's been times where I'm like, "Hey, man, I need you to cover for me for 10 minutes. I got to take this call or whatever." Mm-hmm. She likes to play the micro stakes. I mean, she's not, playing at a high level or anything yet, but she's interested actually in maybe going through this course with me and getting into it. Great. I mean, she crushes the micros. I mean, it's funny. Like, I think her ROI in sit and goes is probably better than mine at this point, because she doesn't mind playing those 9-mans. I mean, she just cranks them out and has a good time. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we've talked about down the road, like if she can, get to a point where she could play in live tournaments, to just make it more fun to be able to go to some, tourney circuits, bring her with me. We both get in the tournament type thing. So definitely supportive to have somebody who supports the game, understands it, and I've never had somebody support me so much as she does, just in terms of blindly following all of this. I mean,
that's great.
Even talking her to doing the stream was I mean, she just told me I was doing it. I brought it up as an idea, and she's like, "You're doing it." I'm like, okay.
How long have you been doing the stream?
Starting in October. I think October 11th was the first stream. Okay. And we hit partner like right at not partner. We hit affiliate right at the end of November, within like 6 weeks. So, I mean, I had, Stormers were pumping it a lot. I was getting a lot of hosts, was getting a lot of support from those guys. And so, obviously that was a huge help in that front. So yeah, been doing it for about 3 or 4 months, obviously still learning a ton from it. Still working on the stream game and trying to improve all of it. But, it's a blast, honestly. It's like I think I tweeted that I was up at 4 a.m. and my throat was sore from just talking for like 13 hours straight yesterday. But it felt like 4 hours. I mean, it flew by.
Well, you can definitely tell you put a lot of work into it. It's a great stream, and I suggest everyone check them out. Definitely.
That.
So I think we have somebody that joined the call.
Oh, cool.
Hi. My name is Joffrey.
Oh.
Just wanted to thank you for coming on and talking to everyone about your deep run in the mill yesterday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been fun listening to you. I hear you don't play a lot of cash. I'm not a big tournament player. I do play a lot of cash. You're a big tournament player. You don't play a lot of cash. So there's not much of a connection there, but I'm impressed with your run, and I wish I had been watching it as much as some other people were, but hopefully you'll get him in the next one. I actually took a screenshot of the leaderboard with you finishing in 17th there, so that's pretty cool. Congratulations.
Appreciate that, man. So you must have a reputation if everybody thought that you were impersonating me.
Oh, well,
we didn't believe it was him, Jeff.
Well, I change my name in the chat room and picture all the time, and so that's probably where that came from.
Nice. Well, they say that imitation is the nicest form of flattery, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us, PokerPastor.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely. So I when I came to the website, like I saw that like I didn't see anything on the schedule for today. Are you guys normally on Mondays? Or is this like a special gig?
We have a game every night, so it's
very
a private
cool.
game in the ACR lobby. For most of us are, we're the same faces every tournament. We get a few new players, and a lot of us once or twice a year we get together and go to like a Cherokee, North Carolina live weekend. Get an Airbnb cabin. So
nice. Are you guys gonna be out there in April?
Real life friendships. So
are you guys gonna be out there in April?
I might be.
We haven't really talked about it yet.
Well, let me know. I'm planning on being out there for the whole circuit in April. We could connect. It'd be cool.
Didn't you mention you're planning on moving there?
Yes. So I mean I gotta wait till kids get out of school and whatnot. So it's probably gonna be a couple years, but that's the end game. My wife grew up in the mountains. She loves the mountains.
Nice.
And I'm not doing the poker scene in Denver. So if I'm choosing between Denver and Cherokee, it's gonna be Cherokee hands down.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. It's nice. Except there's no radio, no internet, but maybe by the time. Yeah. Hold your hand out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, we might go in April. We were there in November, and I don't know. Did we talk about it, Josh? Joffrey?
Well, we haven't
I
come
live
to a
close
solid plan yet. We usually kind of come up with it a couple months prior and keep talking about it. But I don't know if we do have solid plans. We were going in April and November for the past few years, so might be on the schedule. But we do have a question from Rich. He's asking if you've received any backlash or support from the religious community.
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, other than your occasional trolls, not really. I've had a few trolly comments here and there, but I was a pastor back in the day. I've done some religious type things, and I'm used to backlash. It's not something that scares me. It's just kind of a part of the territory. So. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I think you guys saw, if you guys were watching later, like people were getting in fights over stuff and arguing about, and I'm like, guys, relax, I'm good. Like, like you when you do a stream, like there's going to be some of that, and that's just, it just comes with the territory. You gotta brush it off and just keep going. So, no, not yet. There may be at some point, but it's not going to change how I feel or what my goals are.
So I know you don't play a lot of cash, but I'm assuming you've given it a shot. You mentioned, if you lose 4 or 5 buy-ins, you just feel like you're kind of screwed. You're just totally stuck. It is hard to come back from. But how often do you get a chance to go play cash? And do you make it a point to do that, or is it just here and there?
Well, I don't do it online because I think I'm too far behind the curve at this point to really want to try and like get ahead of the curve on the cash side online. I think cash online is very, very difficult to play. And there's just a lot of sharks. I mean, it's just really saturated. I know like there's some of the sites it's a little bit softer, but I don't feel like that's where I can find my best edge. Live, I try when I can, but even like a 1-2 buy-in game, like you really want to be rolled like what, 4 or 5K, I think. And maybe that's even conservative. I don't know. You guys might know better than me. So I've never just been in a place where I've been rolled comfortably enough to like want to play 1-2 consistently. But I do try at times, like when I do go live, I'll try and hop in a game for 4 or 5 hours while I'm there, and just trying to hone in on that, because I think that would kind of help with when you go to a live circuit, kind of getting your max volume in and whatnot. So yeah, I've dabbled. But I think you guys would admit too, like live cash and online cash are two completely different beasts.
Oh, absolutely. They don't relate in any way, I'd say. There's so much you give up when you're playing online that you have at a live table. And I think that goes for both cash and tournament play. But I stay away from cash online myself. If I'm going to play cash, I'm going to a poker room. There's no reason for me to play online when I have much more of an edge and a lot more to work with sitting at a live table with other players.
Yeah, and that's one of the unfortunate things for me. Like the nearest casino is a little over 2 hours away, and it is a poker room of like 3 tables. So, like I don't have that place where if I had a place 10 minutes down the road, I probably would play some more cash. But driving 2 hours to play a cash game and then driving 2 hours back is just it's just not something that that I'm going to do very often.
Right. Well, you did ask something about being appropriately rolled for cash. If you're playing tournaments that are, $200, $250 plus consistently, I'd say you would be rolled for a 1-2 game. Your standard buy-in for that would be, $200. And some poker rooms offer deeper buy-ins. Like the Hard Rock over here offers $300 for a 1-2 game maximum. Some poker rooms allow you to buy in for whatever the big stack has in front of them. Just depends from one place to another, but I think for 1-2, if you're playing the millies, you'd be pretty well rolled for that.
I'm saddying the millies though. I don't have an average buy-in of $250. I may get there at some point, but I mostly stick to the 11s. I'm pretty conservative with my bankroll. I have some 22s and 33s that I feel are more profitable than the others, and so I definitely sprinkle those in. But like with the Millie, there's so many satellites right now. Like if you just put the time in, like not only is there a lot of overlay to take advantage of, but you can super satty into one of the megas, and there's 3 megas every week. So like I've just kind of decided I'm just going to find a way to satty in, and if it costs me $120 to satty in instead of $265, then it's still value. And that was kind of the great thing yesterday was like when I hit the cash mark, like it was already good profit for me. And I had like 2 people small invested, and so like they were already at a different spot, so like it just takes the pressure off at that point, and it's just all fun. Like, hey, I'm in the money, I've made some money, now let's play for the win and just kind of see what happens.
Absolutely. Were you in Cherokee back in November?
Yeah, I only played one tournament. I actually came out there with my whole family, so I was kind of, doing the family vacay thing, and so I didn't play a lot, but I did play one day. I played in the afternoon high-low event. And I think I bubbled it. I was like 5 from the money. It was the day that I don't know if you guys were there, but One Dull Geek went really deep in a tournament. Count Joe Money, who's in chat, went deep in a tournament. Corey Wayland was deep in every tournament that circuit, so I don't think that helps. But I got to meet some cool people out there. I did play one event and then went back.
Was that high-low on a Monday?
Yeah, I think it might have been. It was like a 4 p.m. event.
Yeah, that was the day after we left. We were there the weekend right before that.
I couldn't believe how amazing that venue was. I mean, I've been out to Durant, I've been to Hammond, down to Bossier City, Tunica, Biloxi, and the Hard Rock in Oklahoma, and that was my favorite event. Durant's close. Durant's a close second. And I've had a lot of success in Durant, but like that, it was just gorgeous. The casino was gorgeous. It was clean. The tourney staff was great. And there's just something about walking into a room with bleachers that makes you feel like you're in a stadium, It's got that feel and vibe to it.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, so you're planning on going in April. What are you going for?
I'm hoping to go for the whole circuit. Like my goal is to build enough bankroll that I can go out there and, fire multiple bullets and play, several events. Obviously I probably won't be rolled at that point to play in the main. So it'd be like a Saturday to the main or, if I made a deep run, but, I hate going to I get the itch, like you get the fever when you go to a live circuit event and you see it and you hear the sounds and you watch people going deep, like you get that fever and that excitement. And there's nothing worse than going out there and only being able to play one event. Like it was so hard to leave Cherokee after that one event. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to play more events. So like this time I really want to be able to go out and play several events, and I think I can get some backing to kind of help that help supplement that if need be. But yeah, I'd love to go out and just spend 10 days and just grind the circuit, live the dream a little bit.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, we should plan on going out there if we can. We were going pretty consistently, but we missed last April.
We did.
So
April's a good time to go. I prefer it over
it
November.
is a good time.
I guess we just made a plan to go again then, huh?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people coming out from what I hear. I've already heard of several people I know heading out there. I think there could be a really, really big showing. So, and the more the merrier. I mean, we had so much fun just like, checking in on each other, fist pumping. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you've got heaps. Like there's just that vibe again. It's just so much fun. And you do get some of that online, but it's just not as exciting as it is in person, I think.
Do you ever play the sit and goes while you're out there?
I haven't. They seem like crazy high variance.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
I'm a little bit of a bankroll nit. Like, I mean, people usually go on the 1,000 buy-in, or 100 buy-in rule, for tournaments. Like, I'll definitely, have 200-300 buy-ins at times and not jump up in stakes. So, like, to play a 10-man sit and go with a really bad structure where it's like literally if the guy across from you heads up is just a wanker and he refuses to chop with you, you're playing for some massive you're playing a heads up match with each of you having 7 big blinds for 1K in chips. Like, it's just that has no desire for me. So yeah.
Well, they usually I'd say at that point they chop a lot of the time once you get to that stage where it's anyone's game. It's just the skill's out the window. It's all down to luck, and that's a pretty good time to chop.
I mean, if you've got the bankroll, I think that you probably get a pretty decent ROI in those things.
Yeah, I guess if you do play, I haven't played enough of them to know one way or another. But you get 2,000 chips to start, and if you don't make moves early, you're going to be out pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I played a couple of them. I don't remember which circuit it was at. I probably played one or two. Maybe it was down in Tunica. And within 30 minutes, the thing's over. Like, it's just it's so fast. I think the one I remember playing, I think I got in a coin flip on the 4th hand, and that was it. I'm like, okay, that was fun. Nice little punt.
Yeah. See that a lot in those games. It's just, I think one thing for someone that might be going for the first time to play live, when they sit down at a sit and go like that, and they have this tiny stack of chips. It looks like a lot less than it is, but I think it's intimidating. It raises the nerves. They don't think they have. It's almost like they're already short stack, and they kind of get out of line. But then at the same time, there's a lot of people that play those that know exactly what they're doing and understand. But that transition from an online player who hasn't really played live before to go to a casino and play in an actual poker room, whether it's cash or a tournament or a sit and go, things can be very intimidating, and it's a good way to take advantage if you can recognize who's at the table that knows what they're doing and who doesn't quite understand what's going on to the fullest.
So I noticed, and I know it's not this way at every circuit, but at Cherokee, the one thing I did notice is they had a ton of supersats. Like, would you rather sit down at one of the supersats to an event or one of the sit and goes?
Seeing as how I'm not that big, or not that great of a tournament player, I would prefer the sit and go. Again, I play a lot of I would prefer to just sit down at a cash game, really. But if I had to choose between the super satty and the sit and go, I'd go for the sit and go. If I really wanted to get into the event and I feel like I had a chance of playing well, I guess I'd go for the super satty. I just don't think I have enough of a late game. I don't have enough late game strategy and experience to want to put myself into that position.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Really hard to come by, especially with those types of events. I mean, we go, I guess, twice a year, April and November, really. And the first time I went back in April of 2016, I made it all the way to the end of day one in the $500,000 guarantee, and just didn't quite make it. Went set over set for my first run there, and that was towards the end of day one. Really unfortunate, The second time was that November. Very uneventful. I couldn't really get much above starting stack. Wasn't catching anything. Trying to pick some spots that didn't work out. And the hand I went out on wasn't even... I had Jack Queen suited and just didn't get anywhere and ended up taking a bad line and going out. But I know a lot of people give big stories of, oh, this is the hand I went out on. I had aces and he had kings and he river to king. No, it wasn't like that. It was a very uneventful hand for the second run. Pretty early exit. Didn't quite make it through half the day on that one. But I've had some success in some tournaments down here in Florida, but nowhere near the size or magnitude of those events that we go to play up in Cherokee. Just much
you guys
smaller
are in
events.
Florida?
I'm in Florida.
Ah, gotcha.
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay.
I'm in North Carolina.
So you guys are sprinkled in a whole lot of better places than Illinois. I'm jealous of all of you.
We got snow on the ground right now. We had a storm last week. I got like 8 inches of snow. And they've closed school. My daughter hasn't been back to school since last Tuesday. And they're closed tomorrow.
Wow.
We got no snow on the ground. Her school looks like it never even snowed there, and they closed. But that's good for her. She gets a long Christmas break.
Is it good for you?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Nice.
I love it. Yep. And you have 4 kids, huh?
4 kids, yeah.
Wow.
So I love it a little less. I love my family. I do love my family. But yeah, it can get a little congested for sure. Kids get that little hangover, right? Like I've been bored for too long.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, you poor things.
They older, younger? How old are they?
So I have now it is 19, 17, 15 and 12. My son just turned 12. So
okay.
He's the youngest one. He's the one that's kind of keeping us in the area to finish school up. But yeah, it's a good bunch. I've got 3 teen girls, so that
boy.
Yeah. So if you
I have a
know
14-year-old girl.
I have
yeah.
That's where my strength in poker comes from. You face that, you can face down anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a good experience for sure. But I'm definitely ready to get somewhere other than cornfields and flatland.
And now, is that where you're from, born and raised, or?
Yeah. I grew up in Central Illinois, in a town called Champaign. It's basically
heard of it.
It's right in the middle of Indy, Chicago, and St. Louis. Like if you brought all 3 to the bullseye, that's where that's at. And been here most of my life. And it's not a terrible area, but I mean, again, like I'm 3 hours from any like real casino. I'm 2 hours from any like the worst casino that's near me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a poker pro, especially post Black Friday, it's just not good. It's just not fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have any casinos in South Carolina?
Nope. We used to have a boat in Myrtle Beach about 2 hours from here, and they closed it down about 4 years ago, I guess. And I have Cherokee. It's 5 hours away. That's it.
Yeah. So you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
Yep.
I'm curious to know if you have a favorite hand.
I have a lot of hands that aren't my favorite. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can hear both. Some of those and some of your favorites.
Jacks drive me nuts. Ace 10 is a hand that drives me nuts, which is hilarious because that's the hand I played yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of keen on, like, one of the things that Ben CB talks about in Raise Your Edge is he's got a 3-betting range that includes a lot of your lower suited connectors and suited gapters. So like, your 6-7 suited, 5-6 suited, maybe even 5-7 suited. And the theory there is, like, by polarizing your 3-betting range with some of those hands, 1, you get your 3-bet percentage up. 2, when like flops do come like 7-4-5, now that you're kind of neutralizing that range advantage that your opponent has, like when they defend you or lightly or whatnot. And so it doesn't make it easy for them to just steal certain boards. And then, like, he talks about like those hands, like more like, like the 8-9 suiteds, 9-10 suiteds. Those have enough equity. You don't want to 3-bet those and then get 4-bet jammed and lose that equity. Whereas like if you 3-bet, 6-7 suited and get 4-bet, like it's just an easy fold. Like you're not putting yourself in an awful spot. And so I've been experimenting with that and having some nice success for it. I mean, you're gonna have your times where you 3-bet your 6-7 suited and the flop comes like king deuce and you're kind of like, all right, I'm done. But man, you'd be surprised how fun it is when you 3-bet with 6-7 suited, you get flatted, the flop comes like ace 7-6 and some guy stacks off to you with his weak ace X. And now you're tagged as a fish for like the rest of the tournament, right? Like,
right.
Now everybody thinks you're the worst poker player ever because
which may not be the worst thing.
No, it's great. It's great for your image. And never mind the fact that he got 75 bigs in with ace 9 off on a ace 6-7 board, right? Like, let's just ignore that fact. But yeah, it's really great for your image. It kind of neutralizes some of your opponent's range advantage. So I guess if I had to say so, I'd kind of take those like 6-7 suited, 5-6 suited hands as my favorite right now.
6-7 suited, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That's my favorite hand.
Well, there you go. Do you ever 3-bet that in cash as a bluff?
Oh, absolutely. I think it doesn't translate well from tournament play to cash play, those types of hands. I think those hands are so much more playable, and you can 3-bet a lot more with that wider part of your range than you can in a tournament, especially when you're going in the deeper levels of a tournament.
Yeah.
You have to no, I don't want to say that you have to tighten up your range, but you can do a lot more. You can pick a lot more spots with those hands in the earlier stages in the tournament than you can in the later stages.
Agreed.
Because you do open yourself to a lot of vulnerability with that type of range.
Yeah, nobody should be 3-betting 6-7 suited with a 30 big blind stack. Please don't do that. Like, that's not what we're talking about. But like, yeah, when you're like 75, 80 big blinds deep, I mean, those hands just play so well post flop because like, how often is 6-7 suited going to flop at least a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, right? Like that's all you need to do an aggressive float. Or all the combo draws where you're going to flop a pair and a backdoor straight draw or a pair and a gut shot straight draw. Like there's just so many things you can flop that give you that extra street of floating or that extra street of barreling or, however you want to, approach the hand. It just cranks that aggression level up. And I think we're still in an era where like aggression works. There's definitely enough people out there that know how to float one street. But how many people are you seeing in poker now who like float one street and you could bet one chip and they're already throwing their cards in the muck? Like,
right?
Nobody wants to call the turn. Like they'll call the ace high on the flop all day long. As soon as you bet on the turn, they're out of there. We're done.
I don't want to feel like I'm just taking up all the questions here. If anybody else has some questions they want to ask.
I got just a quick question, if it's okay.
Yeah.
What role do backers play in your buy-ins, and are you always open to people getting a piece of your action?
So this is kind of funny because I feel like the odd man out when it comes to backing. Like I played backed pretty heavily back before Black Friday because I didn't I wanted to play high stakes high low. The back then there were $200 high-low tournaments on every major site. So you literally could play $1,000 in high-low buy-ins just in the high stakes. And I obviously wasn't rolled for that. So I played a lot of back stuff before Black Friday. But the tournament I won in Hammond, my high score for the 16.2K or whatever it was, I was in makeup to the tune of like, I don't know, 6-7K. Like I ended up walking away with like $5,000 out of that 16.5K. Now on one side, like I wasn't paying for those tournaments, so like I don't minimize that at all. Like it was a great opportunity and everything, but there's just something that's sick, like in your mind, like when you hit for $16,000 and then you write a check for like 10, like it feels gross. Like it just doesn't. I mean, it's fair and it's totally just, but it just doesn't feel right.
Right.
So when I came back into poker, like I kind of had this mindset of I would rather go slower and be on my own dime and really own what I'm doing than play like backed and get caught in makeup. And I've seen so many of these really good players who they get into 2 or 3K of makeup and they just feel like they're never going to get out. Like it's kind of like that. I guess it's kind of like that cash game mentality. Like when you dig yourself a deep hole, it affects your game too much. It puts you in bad spots. And so I didn't want to be in there. So like I don't really play backed like for my main action. Like I know that there are games in the $11 range that I'm going to crush and I'm going to beat consistently, and I just have no incentive to play those back. I do, post packages for like my streams because I've got people, I've got streamers who want to, or people that are watching the stream who want to have that extra sweat. And I'm happy to provide that. I mean, happy to provide that entertainment value. And so like I put up a package for last Sunday, and 2 guys got in, and they were having a blast in chat. Let me tell you, they were living it up. Back when we got to the final 50, man, they were having a time in there. And that's good. I mean, that adds to the stream, it adds to the entertainment value, and so I'm more than happy to do that. Like if I go to a live series, like I definitely would be open to backing and getting into that range. But in terms of my like day-to-day games, like if you have a game you consistently beat, there's just not much value in my world. Like I would rather play $11 buy-ins, crush them, have a 50% ROI, and keep 100% than play 22s and 33s backed, with a 30% ROI, and now you're only getting 15% of those buy-ins, and it plus all the added pressure, right?
Right.
In some strange world, like I feel less pressure playing on my own dime than I do on other people's money.
Understood. So what type of package did you put up for this past million? Are you considering putting up that same package, or are you planning on playing the millies all the way through March?
Yeah, my goal is to play them all the way through March. Obviously, I'm going to keep trying to satellite in on the cheap. I haven't figured out what I'm going to post for this Sunday yet. I think I don't want to say take advantage. It sounds horrible, but like I'm going to, for lack of a better term, I'm going to try to take advantage of the opportunity, what happened this week, and maybe post like a 3 tournament package. It'd be like the 162 on Carbon, the the ACR Millie, and then maybe like the 109 high low on ACR, something small like that. When I post my packages, I don't put any markup on it. I hate markup. Like when I see people post, and I totally get it. I'm not saying it's a bad system or that people don't deserve markup, but like the second I see markup, my first question is now I have to guess like whether you're really profitable or not, or like profitable enough to overcome the markup. Right. And it's so hard to tell that because who really has a realized ROI, right? Like you can go into any stud's ROI and you take their 2 top scores out and they're probably not even a winning player. Not because they're not a winning player, but just because your ROI is realized by 1 or 2 tournaments. And so it's just so messy to see and figure out like, okay, what's a 1.2 markup? Like, is that, like what, like it's just, I don't like messing with it. So, and again, I'm doing this for an entertainment side, to add to the stream. So anything like that online, it's just, it's flat, no markup. You get in for whatever percentage you want. Sometimes I'll put a limit on it just to make sure, if 6 or 7 people want in, they can get in. And I tell people up front, I'm like, look, guys, like I'm profitable. I feel confident playing these tournaments. I don't feel like I'm, that far outmatched. I feel like if I played this tournament 1,000 times, I would make money. But anything can happen on one Sunday. Please don't like, oh, he went down, he finished 17th in the Millie. I'm going to go drain my bank account and buy the whole thing up. I'm going to be pissed. Like, please, guys, just be responsible. Throw a couple bucks in for your entertainment value. But this is not a get rich quick scheme, right? Like this is high risk investing. You should do it as entertainment, not like I'm going to retire off of this.
Right. Especially with variance in tournament poker. I mean, you just never know from one to the next. You're going to have that deep run. You're going to have a couple deep runs even, but you're going to have a lot of just getting into the money, hitting the money bubble, just not making the money a lot of times. So absolutely, variance in tournament poker is pretty ridiculous sometimes, but you sound like a fantastic player. You know what you're talking about. I have confidence that you, in the long run, you'll be very consistent and do very well. And I'll be keeping an eye out for those packages that you're putting up.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, I got a long ways to go. It was, as we all do. I mean, I definitely, I went through some of the highlights last night. I was pulling highlights down to put a YouTube video together. And, to echo your point, I mean, there were so many hands early on that seemed so insignificant. And now I look back and it's like, I had 10 bigs at the 175, 350 level, and I shoved king, queen suited, and I got called by ace 10, and I hit a king, and the guy turned to flush draw and bricked. Like, he hits that flush card, like we're not even on this radio station right now. Like I'm grinding 35 tournaments today and right back on the brutal grind. Like, and at the time it was just like, oh, sweet. Now I'm up to 8K when we started at 10K, like woohoo. But like, I think I even said on the stream jokingly, I was like, I wonder if we'll look back in 13 hours and say like how critical this hand was. And lo and behold, like, like that hand could have gone wrong. And it's so, putting the highlights together, like all of a sudden you start going through all these hands, you're like, holy cow, I hit a set here. Holy cow, I won this coin flip. Oh, wow, I rivered this guy. Like, and all of a sudden you start realizing, like, man, this was, I mean, yeah, we did some cool things and we played some good poker, but, like, we ran really, really good through this.
Right.
And you just can't predict that.
You do have to have a lot of that run good and suck out in some big spots to really make it sometimes. And I think a really good, and we've talked about this a lot, but a really good example would be McKeon in the main event when he got his ace queen in against ace king and rivered a queen. It just and then he went on to win the whole thing. He should have been out. That should have been the end of his run. But sometimes you have to get that lucky to really make it big.
And isn't it funny how when hands like that happen, like people almost want to illegitimize the championship. It's like, oh well, he sucked out. He shouldn't have been the champion. Like. I mean, yeah, he sucked out, but like you can't win a tournament without sucking out, especially with a field that size. Like you're gonna suck out a dozen times on the way to a main event final. Like you just have to. But yeah, people see that one hand, they're like, oh well, he wasn't the real winner. I mean, come on, like, Geek. It's a little sensitive topic for Geek. He's had some tough runs with that. He was top 5 or 10 in the chips in Cherokee and lost with ace king to ace queen, so he feels that pain.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. That is a tough one to take. That and a lot of any bad beat really, any suck out.
Yeah, I mean it comes around eventually. Like that's what you have to keep telling yourself. But I mean variance is one of those things. Like when variance is on your side, you feel like you're the greatest poker player in the world, and like you're playing at the most elite level. And then all of a sudden variance smacks you in the face, and you're like, I'm such a fish. Why do I even play this game? Like,
I know the feeling.
I'm never ever going to be good at this game. I don't even know why I'm wasting my time. If anything gets me accused of being bipolar, it's poker.
Well, you just gotta continue to have confidence in your game. Know that you're above the heads of a lot of players. You're on that next level that a lot of players wish they could be on. And if you keep honing your craft and getting that coaching and taking that course you were speaking about earlier, about maybe you and your wife would both take that course, you're just going to keep getting better and better and going further and further. And before you know it, you may be a lot further along than you thought you'd ever be.
Yeah, it really just comes down to, I mean, I posted earlier on Twitter today, it's like you got to believe in yourself and you got to surround yourself with people that believe in you. I'm so passionate about like being around the right people because, one negative person in your life just does so much damage, right?
Yeah.
And on the flip side, having somebody in your life that can, lift you up and say, hey, look, you're better than this. Like, you need to stop thinking about yourself in this way. You need to keep pushing yourself. It just has immense value. And, I having played back in the pre-Black Friday days and at least being around poker off and on for the last 17 years, like I've been in enough situations where, the bad times have come and the good times to come to know that they're going to equal out and the bad times make you stronger. I'll never forget the ACR tournament. It was a OSS event back. It was probably a year after Black Friday or 2 years after. I was in a high-low event trying to win my first, online series. There were like 10 people left in this tournament. I was second in chips. The chip leader had like 30% of the chips in play. I had like 28% of the chips in play, and there were 8 short stacks. And the flop came like, I don't know, like king 9 deuce. And I had a set of kings. It was like ace king king 3, right? So I had the backdoor low draw, the set of kings, and the guy shoved like 2-2 9-10, and he hit the 1 out or 2 on the river and busted me 10 for literally like 60% of the chips in play. It was like 5K up top, and this is back like where I'm working like 100 hours a week. I've got like 2 jobs. I'm trying to like keep things afloat because of Black Friday, and I'm not gonna lie, I almost put my fist through the wall.
I probably would have.
It was horrible. But like I mean, it I had to push through it, and like you can't play poker and not have those days, but you also know that those days are the ones that make the days you celebrate that much sweeter. I'm almost glad I didn't final table last night on stream, because I'm pretty sure I would have broke down crying and made a complete fool of myself. I don't know how entertaining that would be for everybody else. It would just not because of the money, but just because like you work so hard at something for so long. When you finally really break through and get that success, there's just that emotional overload of like, wow, like I've finally made it. So Absolutely. It was kind of good. Where it was I felt like it was a nice sweet spot.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the for that high-low event you were talking about there, those other 8 players at the table were so happy to see that happen.
Sweetest ladder ever, right?
Yep. You got to have those. You got to have those moments though, and eventually you are gonna score that big win. It happens for someone, so why can't it be you? You just got to continue to have that positive energy, that optimism that you talk about, that support that needs to be there. And just continue to believe and keep doing what you're doing, because you're on the right track, and you did very well. And a lot of people were very happy to see what you did and very entertained. Even if it was 17th place, that's huge. That's a big deal.
3,800 people.
That's a huge deal.
It was an absolute blast. And my first coach, the one thing that I took from my very, very first coach, he always taught me when it came to like big tournaments, he said, don't ever try to win a big tournament. He said, your goal is to make the top 50. And if you make the top 50 enough times, you're going to win. Like if you can just get yourself in the position to win, don't worry about the results at that point. Don't like that. Once you get to the top 50, it's the dealer's game. Like the dealer is going to decide the game. Now, obviously it's simplifying a lot of things, but it's just that concept of like changing your focus from where did I finish to did I put myself in a position to win? And that was always a profound thing for me, all throughout the years, because it's like, all right, like I just need to keep putting myself in the position and eventually it'll fall. I mean, I've had multiple second place finishes in online tournament series. I mean, literally I've been playing for off and on for 17 years. I got my first online tournament series win in October. And all my friends had it way before me. I mean, I had friends that had multiple F-Tops jerseys and Coop watches, and oh gosh, it was just like it was almost annoying at points, because it was like every time I turned around, one of my core friends had won some championship, and I just couldn't get there. But I kept putting myself in the spot, and when Moss came, I had 6 or 7 top 50s, and the 7th one I finally banked. And it's just like you got to have that mentality of just put yourself in the position, put yourself in the position. And when the time's right, the chips will fall where they need to fall, and the cards will land the way they need to land.
Very well said. Does anyone else have some questions? Well, I have a couple more that have nothing to do with poker, but what's your favorite number?
I was hoping you were going to do this.
11 was always my number in sports, so I'd have to go with 11. Like that's the number I always had on my jerseys when I was in school.
That's my favorite number in the whole world.
That is her favorite number.
It is. Mark Messier wore number 11. I'm a big hockey fan.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I played this really popular known sport known as cross country. I used to compete at a collegiate level in front of like 6 fans every Saturday.
Oh.
It was pretty intense. It attracted a lot of ladies and autographs, and I got interviewed by like, I don't know. It wasn't popular at all, obviously, but it paid for college. So
there you go.
What's your favorite color?
Green, which was the original color that I've used on stream. So that shows through in a lot of stuff. Always been a green guy.
Favorite pro player?
Oh, that's a tough one, because like I'm one of those people. I don't know. How many of you guys were around pre-Black Friday? Are you all like pre-Black Friday people?
Yeah.
Or
yep.
Okay. Because like I almost feel like having been in around pre-Black Friday and then gone for a few years and then coming back, like I almost feel like there's 2 parts to me. Like pre-Black Friday, I would have said John Jawanda, just because that guy had a stare that made me pee myself. Like I was like, back then I had the confidence I would have played anybody at any table, but if John Jawanda sat at the table and gave me that little like side head stare that he gives, like seriously, I would have had to like hide under the table. I don't know why, it creeped me out. But nowadays, like with all the full tilt stuff that went down, like it's kind of like, it's not status quo to talk about, those players and whatnot. I mean, nowadays, I don't know that there's any live players that I really like would be like, oh, like I love that player. Like I almost like online players better. Obviously I like Ben CB. I've got a huge, I have a huge respect for his game and his approach to the game and whatnot. There's some sick streamers online. Lex has obviously earned he's earned his respect, right? Like he's a very, very tough player, has, really studied and crafted his game. I won't get into a debate about Jamie Staples and how good he is on here. We'll leave that for another time. But yeah, I don't know. Like I guess I'd have to go with Ben CB.
Do you have someone that you look up to, like an idol in your life?
Well, it's not One Dull Geek, despite what he'll tell you in chat. I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that I guess I don't know if look up is the right term, but like I just have mutual respect for. And again, it just kind of come back to surrounding yourself with the right people. Locally, it's funny. Like locally, I've had a lot of friends in the area here, and he lies. Geek. I've had a lot of friends in the area, and like people that I've known locally just tend to kind of see me and take advantage of me, I guess. And like it's amazing, like for as degenerate as people say the poker community is, I've just met so many like trustworthy, respectable people in poker, who have I've built like really quality, genuine relationships with, not that phony like surface crap where it's like, hey, like you pretend you're like I've met some real people, so it's like it's almost like people talk about the real world in poker, but I feel like poker is the real world and the real world's just missing out. So I don't know. I've got a lot of people in the poker world. Again, the Drews, the One Dull Geeks, the PGTs, Count Joe Moneys, Jason, J Crow Longhorn in chat. There's so many people that I've surrounded myself with that I just have that mutual respect for, I guess. I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, it totally does. Very cool. A few more off-topic type questions. Favorite food?
Sushi, hands down.
What's your favorite roll?
Everything that doesn't have octopus or eel. I don't do the octopus or eel, but I'll do sushi. I'll do maki. I mean, you name it. Like I am the sushi snob that eats all the sushi and then drinks the soy wasabi dish, right? Like I take it like a shot when I'm done. So anytime we're live and I hook up with any of you guys like, if you guys can suggest a sushi place where we're not going to get food poisoning, I'm in.
Okay. How about your favorite movie?
I can't say The Last Jedi because I'm going to get absolutely hammered in chat. Nobody seems to like that movie, even though I thought it was a really, really good movie. Generally, I like movies that have a lot of twists in it that I can't like predict. Like when a movie's really predictable, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
So I think going back, if I'm going to go like all the way back, I think The Shawshank Redemption's kind of up there.
Yeah.
For me.
Good choice.
And how about
Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones.
Oh, so they're saying that because, back post Black Friday, right? Like there were like 12 merge skins out there. You had like RPM and Carbon and BCP, and I had accounts on all of them because they all had different bonuses and things you could do. And so when I made my Carbon account, I had run into a couple people on sites that had used famous people as their poker names, and I always thought it was funny. So I was like, I'll try that. So I made Harrison Ford my Carbon name. And of course now it's the only Carbon skin you can play on, so I'm stuck as Harrison Ford.
Oh my god!
Every week I get that one person that like, oh my gosh, it's the real Harrison Ford, and like first I think they're trolling, but then they start talking about their love for me in movies and like, can I prove I can play? And I'm just like, oh, so I get a lot of crap about the Indiana Jones stuff because people come in and be like, the one guy that probably the most hilarious one was the one that was like, oh my gosh, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones and the Last Crystal was my favorite movie of all time. Nobody liked that movie, right? Never should have been made. Like, don't even try and tell me that was your favorite movie of all the movies Harrison Ford made. Like, something's wrong with you in the head.
How about a favorite book?
I don't read books. Like if I can watch a movie in 3 hours or read a book in 15 hours, I'm gonna watch the movie. I honestly it's been probably 8 years since I've read a poker book. I do a lot of study. I watch a lot of videos. I take in a lot of training materials, but I don't know, having worked on computers all my life and been around computers, like I've just never wanted to look at print. It just bores the crap out of me. So, I really don't have one, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine. I think there's a lot more you can learn in a more efficient way with a lot of the videos that are out nowadays for poker, just because the game has changed so much based off of that book that was written back in the 90s. And it's just a little bit, in my opinion, more efficient to go with the videos nowadays than it did. But I do love a lot of the poker books, and I have a nice library of them. Don't get me wrong. I think there's still a lot you can pull away from them, more so for the cash game books than you can the tournament books, because tournament plays evolve so much further than I'd say cash, even though they both evolve so much. However, you mentioned you watch a lot of the poker videos, and I do watch a lot of poker videos too. And I think there's a lot you can even take away from live streams, like Live at the Bike, if you're a cash player, to watch how they play. Although they tend to be a little towards the maniac side of things sometimes. But
sure.
How about, without considering anything that happened yesterday, what would be your most memorable hand of poker you've ever played?
Other than the one where I got one outed for the 60% of chips at the final table.
And that one too. That's not the Kings versus Deuces one either.
I mean, are you wanting a good one or a bad one, or does it matter?
It could be either. It could be both.
So when I was in Durant, I final tabled a high-low event, circuit event there. It was actually a ring event. They actually had a ring high-low limit event. And I came into the tournament like third in chips, and I was so convinced I was going to win this tournament. Like, I'd seen a lot of bad play. I've been playing high-low for a very long time. I felt like I had the biggest edge at the tournament. Of course, if any of you guys have played limit, you know there's an edge, but like edge and limit is just like you can go from chip leader to bust in like 4 hands. Like it's so swingy. But I just, I had that confidence. I was coming in. And I got to day 2. We're at the final table. They've introduced all of us. We're on the stage. It's like everything you've ever dreamed of. And I literally am just card dead. I can't get a hand. And like finally I'm 6th in chips. And this lady to my right is she just can't lose. And I'm like, I'm getting jealous, right? Like, I'm just sitting here. I've got stack envy. I'm like, this girl can't lose. And then I see this hand where, she bets every street. Like, she bet the first street. The guy raised, she 3-bet. He calls. Turn comes, she leads out. River, she leads out. And she flips up jack, 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 deuce. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like, she literally thought she had tripped jacks, and she's at the final table of this. She's at the final table of this ring event, and I ended up going out 6th, and she was still in, and she got like 3rd place. And I'm just sitting here going like, how in the world did I get 6th, and this person who doesn't even know the rules of the game, is 3rd place in a World Series of Poker circuit event. I mean, hey, we should want that. Like, that's a good thing. But that was a really, really, really memorable hand for me. And I guess the only other one, like, I'll give you a good one. When I was in the Hammond event, apparently I was at this table with this like cash player who was really, really well known in Chicago. Because when I busted him, everybody was like, "You busted like Cash Joe," or like I don't even remember what the guy's name was. But all these people were coming and giving me high fives. Like, I guess the guy's kind of a jerk in the poker room, and so like everybody was giddy to see him go. But he was in the big blind, I was in the small blind. We both had huge stacks. And I limped his small blind, and he just ripped into me. Like, who do you think you are limping my small blind? Blah, blah, blah. You don't limp my small blind. I'll shove on you every time. And I literally just sat down at this table. And so it comes back around again. And the very next hand, I haven't even looked at my hand. And he just starts going at me. He's like, don't you dare limp my blind. You limp here, I will shove you. I won't even look at 2 cards. And I peel the first card, and it's an ace. And I'm already at this point, I'm like, I'm limping this ace. But then I peel the other card, and it's an ace. I got pocket aces. And so, like, I kind of looked away like I was uncomfortable, and then just kind of, like, chucked the chips out there for the limp. And I don't even think the chips hit the table. And he's like, all in. All in. And I look at him, and he's like, I haven't even looked at my other card. And I'm like, okay, I call. And he flips over the first card, and it's an ace. and I flip over my aces, and he's like, I guess I better look. And it was like ace 7 off. And so I busted him for like, I don't know, it was like a 60 big blind pot, and this was like a turbo, right? Like really, really fast structure, 20-minute levels. So 60 blinds at that point was like, just a million chips. And I was able to ride that to the final table in the chop. So that was a fun hand. If talk about a punt, right? Like you're gonna put your tourney life on the line with a top 10 stack with one card because the guy limped on you.
That kind of reminds me of a hand from the Premier League with Daniel Negreanu and Luke Schwartz, where Luke Schwartz comes back to the table. He was gone for a while, just sits down at the table, looks down at pocket aces, raises it up, and Daniel looks down at like ace deuce of spades or something, and he's talking about, oh, I could shove here and you can't even call, and he does, and of course Luke snaps it off with the pocket aces, and either he crippled Daniel or took him right out of the game right then and there. But sometimes you have to understand that although the math says he's not going to have aces in this spot, you shouldn't be making stupid moves like that just to try to make a point or bully a little bit or try to push someone around.
Yeah.
Because you never know when you're going to run into those aces.
I'm sure that move's probably worked for him at the cash tables a bunch of times, right? Like, I mean, that's where you get a lot of your value in these circuit events is you do get a lot of cash players and area players who only play, 200, 300 big blinds deep, and they get a 30 big blind stack, and they don't even know what they're doing. So you definitely do get some value from that, and that's where I love the live tourney circuit grind, because when you do get later stages, like you really can find some really sweet spots that you can't find in online poker. I mean, let's be honest, like the final 50 of that event, as I'm sitting here shark scoping people, it's like $200 average buy-in, $300 average buy-in, $250 average buy-in. Like I think I saw one other person with an average buy-in under $55. And you just know at that point, like you're playing a bunch of sickos, and you can, all you can do is the best you can do at that point.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again. That's no easy thing to do. And definitely looking forward to watching you this coming Sunday to see how it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been fun coming here and hanging out with y'all. It's nice to know now what the RFR Gina is. Gina's been hanging out chat for a while. I probably should have asked sooner. But I don't know, like, sometimes it's weird to ask questions like, why do you have 3 initials in your name? But yeah, it's cool to see what was going on here.
Well, thank you for coming on. We very much appreciate it. We won't hold you too long because it is kind of late. And I'm sure we all have work to do tomorrow. But
Sure.
You're welcome to come on anytime, and we'd be happy to have you.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
We'll do this again sometime soon.
All right. You want to take a little break?
Yeah, let's take a little break.
So, Rob, I just want to also say thank you for joining. And you stream Wednesdays every night on Twitch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I host the Stormers game on Wednesdays, so we'll be there for Wednesdays for sure. Other than that, the schedule kind of changes a little bit.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
All right. We'll be back.